In this episode, I discuss the 4 steps you need to implement to start managing your policies like a business so that you can maximize the profitability of your infinite banking system. I'm Nate. I make sense out of money. This is Dollars and Nonsense. If you follow the herd, you will be slaughtered. The banking business is one of the most profitable businesses in the world, and I believe the infinite banking concept presents the ideal opportunity for the average person to get into the banking business. And so I want to share the 4 steps that I really believe if you adopt these principles, if you adopt these steps, put them into practice, you can build an amazing banking business through the use of dividend-paying whole life insurance following the principles of infinite banking. And before we dive into the content for today, I just wanted to let our audience know that we are actively trying to grow the reach of this show, and we're doing it by purposely putting out the best content in the infinite banking community that we can come up with. We believe we're one of the best content producers in the IBC movement, in the IBC footprint. And so if you haven't already, if you're enjoying this show, and you haven't already left us a review or subscribing on YouTube or maybe rating us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leaving a review, it would mean the world to us. It really would. It would mean the world to us. First off, that you would spend the time with us, and second off, that you would leave a review and help us grow the reach. Because all the algorithms in the world love whenever there's content being reviewed and rated and liked and commented and all sorts of things like that. So if you're enjoying it, it would mean the world to us for you to do that. I do think that infinite banking needs to get bigger than it is. And so people like you are the grassroots way that we're going to grow this thing. So let's go ahead and dive in. How to run IBC like a business. How to run your policies and manage them like you would if you were in the banking business. I believe there's 4 steps to doing this. I'm going to dive into each one of those today. The truth of the matter is there are so many mistakes people make just internally in their mind when they get going with the whole banking idea. The main one being they think of IBC as a commodity. Like the policy is something, it's like a commodity that has assets, or it's a good asset to own. It's got some guaranteed growth, got some tax-free status, a death benefit, liquid, and they talk about the features of the policy when in reality it's less like a commodity and it's actually more like starting a business. And so I think that it's so important if you're going to be successful in infinite banking to adopt a business owner mentality. This is one of the reasons why infinite banking is so easily gravitated towards for people who are already in business, because subconsciously they already think like business owners, like entrepreneurs. Even people in the active investment world where they're actively choosing investments, kind of the contra retirement program, brokerage account style situation, they're already thinking outside the box as entrepreneurs, and so they gravitate towards infinite banking more easily than someone who is like a W-2 employee, more used to buying commodities and investing money in things and less like running a business. It's so simple to get into this banking business that it doesn't even matter if you have any business experience or not. There's 4 easy steps that you can implement to run IBC like a business. Let's go ahead and dive in. Number 1, the first thing you have to do in order to run IBC like a business is you can't be afraid to capitalize. Don't be afraid to capitalize your banking system. In fact, it goes further than this. You should be excited to put capital into your policies. It should be an exciting thing. Because I would pose the question to you, why would you start a business that you're not excited about running? Like, why would you go into a business that doesn't excite you to operate in? It shouldn't surprise you to hear Nate say, every time my premiums come due on my 11 policies, I am excited. I love premium day. I've said it many times on the show. I love premium day. Every time a premium comes due, I am excited for the day because I love being in the banking business. I love putting capital into my bank because the more capital I put in, the bigger objectives I can accomplish and the more money I'm going to make. So in other words, what I'm trying to bring up is that you should be excited about the opportunity that infinite banking presents to get into the banking business. So don't be afraid to capitalize. The amount of money you make inside of your banking business will be directly correlated to the amount of capital you've put in. So if you want to have a big banking business, you put in a lot of money. If you want to have a little banking business, you put in a little bit of money. But obviously, the amount of money you end up making is going to be based on how much capital is moved in to the banking business. And this is the case for every business. Every business in the world needs capital. And no one ever complains about having too much capital in their business, having too much money in their business. And the same thing should be true about us with our policies. We should be excited about building a banking business for the amount of money it's going to make. One of the easiest ways to get over this hump of capital moving into policies is to go back and watch episode 177 of this show, where we talked about having a balance sheet mentality about the policy transactions. In other words, people do become afraid to capitalize their banking business when they don't see their premiums that they're putting into the policies as a capital transfer, as capitalizing the business. And they instead think of it as a payment or a liability, which then causes fear and quelches any sort of excitement they once had, because then it brings all these concerns instead of being an exciting transaction, excited to capitalize the business. So you have to have a balance sheet mentality. You have to understand that anytime you contribute money to policies, it's not a payment you're making. It's not a liability that you're starting up. It's a banking business that you're launching, and you're putting capital into it. If you're going to get into the banking business, you're going to start a bank. Having money in somebody else's bank should honestly make you feel a little bit guilty. like you should feel guilty about having money in somebody else's bank, because you own a bank now. You're in the banking business. You're starting the bank. If you're brand new, then you're starting your first bank. And there will be money elsewhere when you're starting, because it's your bank's just in its fledgling stages. But as time goes on, having money that doesn't live in your bank but lives somewhere else should make you feel weird. It should make you feel guilty. It's like you're cheating on your business. You're cheating on your bank. So that's number one. Don't be afraid to capitalize. In fact, be excited about building your banking system. Number two, view the insurance company that you're working with, that you buy a policy from, view the insurance company as your administrator. View the insurance company as your hired help to run and manage your banking business. So if you're going to get into the banking world just in general, or any business at all, you of course would need hired help. You would hire people to run and pencil push at the very least. And so you can operate as an owner, not as just a pencil pusher doing the menial task inside the business. You would have hired help. You're a business owner now. You need people around you to be hired help. And the insurance company and the people who work there don't hate you. They're not out to get you. They work for you. The president of the company of the life insurance company works for you. Remember, you are the only owner of your policy. You are a partner in the insurance company. The insurance company that you own hires people to run the operation. That's how this works. We as policyholders vote for the board of directors. The executive team is accountable to the board of directors. The board of directors hires these people to run the business to make it as profitable as it can be for who? For us, the owners of the company, just like anything else. So you have to remember that the insurance company must be seen as your administrator, your hired help to help you run your banking business. And they're actually very good at it. They're very good at this banking thing. The insurance companies are very good at managing cash flows and building wealth for the future. They've been doing it for hundreds of years. They're very good at it. So we are hiring them to run and manage our banking business, especially all of the minutia. And that idea, it's kind of like opening a franchise. The reason why franchises work is because a lot of the branding, a lot of the legwork is already there for you. You just buy into the franchise and operate as a franchise owner, but a lot of the minutia and the branding and the systems are already in existence. And that's honestly what it's like. Every time you open a policy, it's like you're opening a new banking franchise. In other words, it might be more profitable for you to go start a bank elsewhere, but it's just so much easier just to buy the franchise, to buy in as a franchise owner and operate your banking business accordingly. So every policy you open is just a new franchise location for your banking business. And you should want as many franchises opened, as much money as it can hold, you should pour into your banking business because it's extremely profitable and the possibilities are infinite. That's why it's called infinite banking. So don't get stuck thinking, what's in it for the insurance company? They are your hired help. They're in it for the paychecks that we're giving them. We give them the paycheck. It's our money. They produce profit for us. We pay them a paycheck. That's how business works. That's how it would work anywhere else. It's like opening a franchise whenever you open up policies. So you have to see the insurance company as your hired help, not as your enemy.
The conventional financial system makes the bank rich using your money and pays you next to nothing in return. At Living Wealth, we believe in challenging the status quo. After all, most of those conventional tools only seem to make someone else rich. Let us show you how to become your own bank. Visit livingwealth.com/bank on yourself. You'll receive instant access to what we call the beginner's course. This free, in-depth, easy-to-follow course teaches people how to create and profit from infinite banking. We not only discuss the philosophy and principles behind infinite banking, but also offer real-life examples to demonstrate how it works. Even participants experienced with infinite banking often tell us how they learned a ton too. It's worthwhile regardless of your experience level. Stop letting the banks and Wall Street dictate your financial future. Again, that's livingwealth.com/bank on yourself to gain access to the free course today. Now back to Nate and Holly.
So those first two, don't be afraid to capitalize, view the insurance company as your hired help. Number 3, this is extremely important. Now we're getting more practical. Number 3, make your policies the first line of defense for your funding needs. You should see your policies as the first line of defense, not the last line of defense. What this means is use your policies to do things often. Even during the early stages, even if you just started a policy, you need to use the policies as the first line of defense for funding the various things in your life. Whether it's personal items, whether it's business items, whether it's investments you're making, your banking system, which is comprised of franchises that you've bought, quote unquote policies. Your banking system should be the first line of defense for the things, your first capital access for many things in life. As we talked about in the last podcast, it's not very easy to use your policies as the first line of defense, especially early on, for your personal expenses. Just the overhead of living life, your lifestyle. You can go ahead and use checking accounts to fund those. But everything else that's not just, a recurring, regular thing, your policy should become the first line of defense. Your first capital transaction. This is by design, by the way, because you need to wean yourself off of your reliance on conventional banks. Not just as a borrower, wean yourself off of, going to them to borrow money, but you need to start weaning yourself off of banks in general as a depositor and a borrower, and you start to become more reliant on your policy system for your financing needs. You're getting into the banking business. You should want your banking business to finance everything that you do. You should want it to be as big as you can get it. So to do that, you have to wean yourself off of other banks. And the only way to grow in confidence and be able to do that is to put your policies in motion, even in the early stages. As I mentioned, I had a few episodes ago, I kind of had a change of heart where, some people haven't committed to IBC at a very high level, and so it makes it weird when you use policies because you've got one foot in the old world and one foot in the IBC world, and you're borrowing money. And it's like, does it really make sense to use policies to do that when you're sitting on all this cash? And I've changed because I believe the only way that you can grow your banking business is to increase your confidence in it. And the only way that's going to happen is to start using it so that you can wean yourself off of other banks. Policies, your banking system should be your first line of defense for everything that comes up besides just your regular lifestyle expenses, your food, your gas, your groceries, your entertainment, your leisure, those things. Go ahead and fund from your personal bank account. They don't need to be funded from policies, but everything else should. Number 4, last one we're going to talk about today. And this one is kind of in alignment with number 3, but here I think it's so crucial. It needs its own statement. So number 4, every investment you make should be funded from your policies. Every time your business in general, so let's say you are in business, and you run, I don't know what kind of, you run just any business in the world. If you're an entrepreneur, a small business owner, every time your business needs capital, it should draw from policies. It should be borrowing money from policies to fund its capital needs. And you personally, every time you personally make an investment, you should use policies to fund it. In fact, I would just ask you to commit to that today. Just commit to that. Your life will be more profitable. Your system will make more sense. You will have a framework to live your life by, as I've been talking about lately. If you just say, today I'm committing to every time I make an investment and every time my business needs money, I'm going to pull it from my policies, not from my bank accounts. And then I'm going to take my bank account money and move it into my policies, preferably as a capital transfer to capitalize my policies and increase revenue overall. So I'm not going to fund investments with money that hasn't been moved into my banking system yet. If I do need quick cash and I have some money in my bank account for whatever reason, and I go spend it on some sort of capital transaction, maybe it's an investment, maybe it's a piece of equipment, whatever it is, I didn't have 3 or 4 days to call the insurance company and have them send me the money. I just needed it right now for whatever reason, because sometimes these things happen. If you go ahead and use the bank account money, you need to commit to pulling that money out of the policy to refinance the transaction so you can be back where it rightfully should have been, which is essentially the policy funding those types of things. So I won't fund investments, and I won't fund capital expenditures in my business from money that I did not pull from my policy. Commit to it. And if that becomes the first order of defense, that's what you are building your life around, you are going to blow away everyone else in the infinite banking world. You really will. If you commit to these 4 things, don't be afraid to capitalize. Be excited to put money into your policies. It should be a fun day. Be excited to build a banking business. Number 1. Number 2, view the insurance company as your administrators. They are your hired help. You're buying a franchise in the banking business world. That's what you're literally doing every time you start a policy. You're buying a new franchise. You should want as many franchises as possible. Sure, the franchisors are going to get paid, for you getting in. That's fine, because they are your hired help. They're your administrators. We are in a symbiotic relationship. We both win at the same time. It's very important. Number 3, make your policies the first line of defense. Use them often for everything. Even early on, you have to wean yourself off of your banking world reliance. And number 4, every investment you make and every capital purchase that your business makes should always be, you should commit today to fund it from your policies. And then take the capital that's in your business and the capital that's in your personal life that you would have otherwise made for the investments, and move those in over time to put more capital into your policies so they can become more and more profitable. If you do these 4 things, you're going to have so much tax-free growth in your policies. You're going to have so much wealth accumulating for you and for future generations, and there's nothing that can stop it. It's guaranteed to get better and bigger every year, all inside of this tax-free banking system that you are creating, to where if you do these 4 things, it is unlikely that you will get to retirement age or passive income age without being able to produce more than enough passive income from your policies tax-free, regardless of any other investments you have made that might be producing revenue too. Literally, the banking system itself will be so profitable, it will handle all your passive income needs in the future, and you would have been able to build a banking business that's guaranteed to be successful, that you can use to fund and grow everything in your life, and that when the dust settles, it will produce for you income and a gigantic legacy that nobody can take away. It's very powerful, and it needs a framework, and this is the framework that I think makes sense. So 4 rules. Don't be afraid to capitalize. View the insurance company as your hired help, like you're getting into a franchise. Make your policies the first line of defense, and use your policies to fund every investment and every capital purchase in your life, in your business, personally, doesn't matter. Let's build this as if You are putting money in policies to run a banking business. Let's try to make it as profitable as can be. It is one of the more profitable things you can do. It's likely for most of you listening to the podcast worth at least $500,000 on a low level and $10 to $15 million on a high level, depending on your cash flows and your ability to produce profit. Could be even more, of course. But we're saying for the average person, the banking world produces probably about $500,000 easily just by building your banking business and running it accordingly without changing anything in your life, just by becoming your own banker. It could easily be up 10 to 15 million if you're talking to a business owner who's got a lot of cash flows that they could run through their system. Huge amounts of money to be made if you commit to running IBC like a business. Thank you so much for joining us again. Remember, if this content is being helpful to you, it means the world if you would like, subscribe, rate, review, comment, anything that makes the algorithms think that this is good content. We appreciate it so much. This has been Dollars and Nonsense. If you follow the herd, you will be slaughtered.
One last thing before we go. Start your journey towards financial security and wealth today. Visit livingwealth.com/bank on yourself. Upon completing the course, you'll have all the information you'll need to see if infinite banking is right for you. Again, go to livingwealth.com/bank on yourself.